Greetings, Kings. PCCs are a divisive topic here in the firearms community. On one side of the fence, you have people saying that these right here are nothing more than useless range toys, have no practical application whatsoever, and you should never spend your money on them. They are a waste and a useless half step that serve no purpose other than plinking steel and shooting garbage at the flat range. And on the other side of the fence, people are claiming that these are their go-to rifle and that you'd be a fool for not having one. Of course, as per the usual, there's a lot of misinformation, coping, seething, and close-minded hate on both sides of the fence. And in today's video, I want to pull away all of what obscures the PCC and really talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, and answer two questions. What is a PCC actually good for, and are there any realistic use cases for one? As always, context for this video. We are going to be looking at the PCC under the guise of a prepared citizen, a Minuteman, someone who is in the civilian defense community, an individual who supplies themselves with ammunition and training and is either alone or a part of a small group of like-minded similar individuals who wish to maintain order and safety in their community in troubling times. As for the platform, we're going to be talking about the AR-9 in 9mm that takes Glock magazines. This is going to give us the most practical platform and the one that shares magazines with our pistol, whether that be a Glock, an RXM, or some other adjacent 9mm Glock mag taking platform. We're also going to be talking in regards to a relatively full-size PCC. We're not going to be talking about PDWs, chassis pistols, or PCCs that have a really short barrel, something like 6 to 8 or 4 inches long, but somewhere around the 10+ inches, all the way up to around 16-inch barrel mark. In the second part of this two-part series, we will dive into the specifics of this build and why we have it configured the way we do. But first, we need to establish the practical uses of an AR-9, as well as some use cases for it, and validate that this is a practical system to put together and to incorporate into our kit and spend our money on to put it in our safe and train with. So here I have laid out the main benefits of a PCC / the AR-9 platform. First of which, and most importantly to me, is going to be the ammo availability and the price of ammo. 9mm is the most common caliber in the world and within the United States. The ammunition to feed a PCC is cheap and plentiful both online and in stores. At time of this recording, 9mm is by and large half the price of 5.56 when looking to target loads, and the same generally holds true for more duty or purpose-driven ammunition. The savings on ammunition in the long run is the greatest strength of a PCC, especially when you're talking an individual who is supplying themselves with ammunition and equipment. Your dollar goes further when you're training and stocking up with a 9mm rifle opposed to a conventional 5.56 or 7.62x39 weapon system. The next big benefit we're going to talk about is it's lighter and easier to use. An AR-9, if built sensibly, will be about 2/3 the weight of a general purpose rifle in an intermediate cartridge. That's a weight savings of around 33%. Could be more or less depending on how you build out the weapon system, which may not seem like a lot, but when you're carrying a weapon system for an extended period of time and having to do more than just walk across the flat range to check on your targets, this is very noticeable and reduces the fatigue of carrying and utilizing a weapon system. The ammo is also lighter, which means you'll be able to store and carry more ammo, especially in situations where weight and size is a concern. A PCC is notably easier to manipulate, transition targets, maneuver with, especially in tighter spaces and for less experienced shooters. The reduced fatigue from a naturally lightweight weapon system is a huge quality of life improvement that may help you do other non-combat related tasks, such as patrolling, aiding a casualty, mounting and dismounting from a vehicle, etc., etc. Thirdly, we'll get into the fact that PCCs are quieter and more discreet than an overt, full-size conventional rifle. 9mm coming out of an 8 16-inch barrel, experiences an additional powder burn, which does give it a slight increase in velocity, around 12% on average, depending on the ammunition and the barrel length. This does give it a little more potency and usability at distance, combined with the multiple points of contact. This does make it much more capable when shooting past the standard pistol ranges of around 25 meters. More importantly, when you put a 9mm into a rifle size package, it reduces the sound signature compared to a handgun and is far quieter than a 5.56 rifle. This, combined with the existence of 147 grain loads for 9mm that are inherently subsonic, make it a fantastic suppressor host and may be a nice option for remaining discreet, may be more important than raw firepower. The PCC's overall silhouette, from its size to the equipment needed to support it, and its sound signature are all reduced compared to a full-size rifle. Speaking of ammunition, you can carry more ammo in less space with a PCC. Even full-size 33-round Glock magazines take up far less space than a standard 30-round rifle magazine. This means you can carry more ammunition in less space on your person, and you can be more creative with how and where you store this ammunition. I'm able to fit two 33-round Glock magazines in a rifle pouch that would otherwise only fit one 30-round rifle magazine in it. That's more than double the amount of ammo in the same space. Pistol magazines are also easier to index in a pocket, which means I may not need to run a dump pouch, as I can slip my empties into my pockets pretty easily, reducing the amount of crap I have to have on my kit. Of course, 9mm is a smaller cartridge, meaning you can store more of it in less space at home, in a vehicle, or in a pack if that's a concern of yours. Finally, and not to be forgotten, the same controls as your rifle, the same magazines as your pistol. The controls and manual of arms on an AR-9 are nearly identical to an AR-15, meaning training with an AR-9 translates across to the AR-15 and vice versa. If you put together or buy a practical AR-9, it will take Glock magazines, which will be shared with your pistol. This might save you a few bucks, not having to purchase more magazines for another weapon system, but more importantly, this means your pistol magazines and ammo can be shared in your rifle. Rifles are far easier to shoot and more ballistically effective than a pistol, even in 9mm, so being able to feed my primary weapon system longer is almost always going to be an advantage. If I have one battle belt set up for a standard 5.56 rifle plus sidearm, I'll likely have two spare pistol magazines and one rifle magazine spare, as well as the one in the gun. This gives me 60 rounds of rifle ammo on tap, and around 51 rounds of pistol ammo between the belt and what's loaded into the gun already. If I take the exact same setup, but configure it for a PCC in my sidearm, again, two pistol magazines and a pouch that would hold one rifle magazine by default, I can fit, as said before, two 33-round Glock magazines in the rifle pouch, and my two spare pistol magazines can be used in my rifle now. This gives me 133 rounds of ammunition to be used in my primary weapon system in the same exact space where I would only have 60 rounds for my rifle chambered in 5.56 before having transitioned to my pistol if need be. And in a worst case scenario, I could cross-load the magazine that is sitting in my pistol to my rifle, bumping up the number of ammunition for my long gun from 133 to 150 if I absolutely had to. Even without the emergency magazine cannibalized off of the pistol, this is more ammo than a traditional long gun. It's chambered in 5.56 with a magazine in and a 3-magazine placard on a plate carrier. And again, this is all set up on a belt alone. That's not even really optimized to be running a PCC. If I need to remain cognizant of weight, additional tasks, my appearance and the way I project myself, I may want a lighter, less intrusive option with the ability to carry more ammo rather than a heavier, wieldier choice that is more capable, but I will be carrying significantly less ammunition for. You may be thinking, wow, this is such a great list of awesome upsides to a PCC. What could possibly be the downside? That's right, gents. All of those lovely perks of a PCC come at the cost of about 2/3 of your effective range and quote-unquote stopping power, by way of 9mm being far less potent than 5.56, or any of its other intermediate cartridges that it has to compete with. And that's just by design. It's designed to be a compact, light, portable munition that's good enough for personal protection and out to about 25 meters from a 4 and 5 inch barrel. Doubling the barrel length does increase velocity and both practical and terminal ballistics is slightly, but you can only jelk a pistol caliber so far within the confines of the original specs and casing itself. And that's the crux of the argument for and against PCCs by and large. In what situation, if any at all, do those small benefits outweigh the fact that you are sacrificing so much firepower in something that, at the end of the day, is roughly the same weight and size as a full-size rifle? Now that we've identified the good, the bad, and the ugly in regards to a PCC, I've developed some valid, realistic, grounded in reality, practical use cases for a PCC. Before all of you in big PCC's pockets start to throw your celebrations early, and before all of you intermediate cartridge Chad PCC haters start blasting your full power loads down in the comments below, know that I haven't identified the PCC as a primary choice for your go-to fighting rifle or your go-to war rifle. With all that being said, hopefully both sides of the argument can keep an open mind for the rest of the video, where we break down each individual use case and the reasoning behind it. The first and the most compelling use case we'll talk about is as a training firearm. As a private person, we don't have an organization or entity backing us or paying for our ammunition and training. Having a long gun that shares the same ergonomics, manual of arms, and general feel as our primary rifle, while costing half as much to shoot, is a very appealing option, especially when considering one's personal finances. If you can see past the trees for the forest and eat the upfront cost of a PCC, in the long run, assuming you're going to be out there actually training with it, you'll start to see the savings around the 3,000 round mark. Some indoor or even outdoor ranges can be sticklers about long guns. They may have restricted days, times, areas, and even targets for rifles. PCCs usually get a pass, however, as the reason for those restrictions are usually noise mitigation due to ordinances and target preservation. A lot of these range owners understand that PCCs are inherently quieter than a handgun is and won't damage pistol-rated targets. Those with private land to shoot on and a wealth of BLM land won't care too much about this, but those who live in large population centers or towards the East Coast will be a huge advantage for those individuals, especially when you start talking limited time and access to shooting areas. I've spoken to and heard from many people who have dropped shooting entirely or are uninterested completely in shooting anymore because they've had a bad experience with their first outing at the range, either normally with a full-size, heavy, loud rifle at an indoor range, or a small, compact, flippy 9mm that they weren't prepared for the recoil of. A lot of these individuals now associate those initial first impressions that were negative with shooting in general and have a closed mind to training and no intentions to shoot further. Humans are social creatures, and having like-minded individuals who have your back if things ever go sideways is a far better position to be in than being a one-man operation with a handful of liabilities you have to look after. The next use case we'll talk about is as a secondary weapon system and an option for ammo scarcity. Amateurs talk tactics, professionals talk logistics. 9mm is far cheaper and easier to stock up on and source even when ammo starts to become scarce. This means you'll likely feel more comfortable stocking up on it and shooting it compared to 5.56. Any weapon system can become damaged, broken, or unserviceable for a variety of different reasons. It's not a bad move to have spare parts, but that only mitigates some of the problems. Having a secondary long gun to fall back on is a situation I'd rather be in rather than having to rely solely on my pistol. Having a carbine for reduced threat levels, Saving wear and exposure to the elements on your main fighting rifle, as well as lessening the burden on yourself, may be an option that is compelling for some people. It's never bad to have more than one choice. Thirdly, we'll talk about a use case I see a lot of people throw around, and that is as a handout kit. In the event a homie is separated from his gear when troubling times roll around, having a secondary weapon system and equipment which is light and easy to use will greatly improve the situation at hand, so long as they are competent and trusted. This can also be an ideal choice for a spouse, a significant other, a family member who will have an easier time using and carrying a lighter carbine with lighter ammo and is much more capable than a pistol alone. I'd want my girlfriend that I totally have, guys, I swear, she just goes to another channel, to have a light weapon system that she is the most confident and comfortable shooting. This will likely be a PCC over even a full-size pistol, or something light but loud like an SBR, or heavier like a full-size rifle. And finally, we'll talk non-frontline tasks. During World War II, rear echelon personnel and non-frontline troops were especially fond of the M1 carbine when compared to the much heavier, yet more potent M1 Garand. Tankers, medics, mortarmen, drivers, recon elements all preferred a lighter, less fatiguing firearm with more ammunition. In the current year of our Lord, 2025, the AR-15 is not as much of a bear as an M1 Garand was back during World War II. It carries significantly more ammo, has less recoil, and is a lighter weapon system overall. But that still doesn't completely negate the fact that lessening the burden on yourself with a lighter weapon system while maintaining a high supply of ammo can improve your ability to perform and focus on tasks that may be your priority. If and when you become a part of a community of like-minded people, rather that be joining one or creating your own, soft skills are going to be very beneficial to the overall group. Having a light, discreet, easy to shoot, unintrusive weapon with enough ammo to break contact may be just what you want over a heavier, bulkier weapon system. Some common examples of realistic non-frontline tasks that a Minuteman might find themselves performing would be medical personnel, drivers, supply distribution, reconnaissance, comms personnel, vehicle recovery, personnel recovery, and many others. I hope I've been able to really illuminate a lot of the pros, the cons, and some potential use cases for a PCC. When you put a PCC or a 9mm rifle into a direct action, go to war type scenario, it just doesn't really stack up to its counterparts that are chambered in conventional intermediate cartridges. But when you take a step back from the front lines and start considering the benefits of something like this in a permissive or peacetime or even semi-permissive environment, having a nice, light, handy carbine that's cheap and easy to shoot might be something that you want to add to your collection or to your gun safe. It's never bad to have options, and I hope that I've really been able to show and pull back the veil of a lot of the common misconceptions and misunderstandings about the AR-9 as a platform and PCCs in general. Guys, if you made it this far in the video, I want to say thank you. It was a super fun video to make. It was very difficult at times and took a lot of resources, but I learned a lot and I really enjoyed putting it together. And if you guys also enjoyed the video, I encourage you to subscribe. I have more content like this coming out. The next video in this series, we're gonna go over this specific build, breaking down each part, why I chose it, and putting together a practically built AR-9 for those who are interested. And I have more videos coming out too. If you want to keep up to date on it, we've got a Discord. If you want to talk to fellow autists and hang out in the Boneheads Discord server, links in the channel bio and in the video description. We're also up on Patreon now. If you want to make bad financial decisions, we have a Patreon and Subscribestar. Totally not expected of anyone and not necessary, but if you want to help me put together videos like this, it's an immense help. All that out of the way, guys. Keep your heads held high, Kings. Bones out.
PCCs!